How will history books write up today's turning events? Will it be inflation's vanquished, you, Governor, the hero?
I'm not looking for that. Well, of course, the luxury of history books is that they will know what happens next, whereas we don't. What I hope they will do is see that the big, really sort of, in a sense, hugely difficult global inflation shocks have wound their way through. We're now dealing with...
They're over then?
I think so. Now, we'll see. But the judgment we took today, for me, it wasn't because something seismic suddenly happened and changed, actually. It was because we'd seen more evidence that was working its way through.
And for families at home, can they expect immediate relief?
Well, I recognise for people at home with mortgages, it's a very difficult process. So I think it's important to say, I hope that we will over time see this, this persistent element of inflation come further out. I'm not predicting when and by how much we'll be able to cut rates, but we will see that happen, and that will further help people at home.
You seem to be, on the one hand, delivering that interest rate cut that all families have been hoping for, but on the other hand, you're being a bit of a Cassandra about it. What's the message for families at home?
Well, it's a first step. It's an important first step.
First step of many?
Well, we'll see. I hope it's the first step in the direction of restoring rates to a more neutral setting. But I really cannot at this stage say by how much and when further steps will happen. That depends on how things unfold. So it is a very welcome step. It is good news. But of course, central bankers never get carried away with anything. Of course, that's our job.
Anna Helia's with me now. So, I mean, valiant attempt again to tell you what's happening next. What's happening next?
Well, he pushes back against this idea that this is anything more than just the first steps. They accept that people are still struggling out there, but he really doesn't like this idea that rates are going to tumble down to zero anytime soon. Now, Chris, I normally come to you with lots of different charts, but today there's just one because it's a simple story. This is interest rates since the pandemic. It was basically flat, and then it stepped up, it stepped up, it stepped up 14 times in a row, up to 5.25%. Today, finally, some respite, as you said earlier, down to 5%. But, it's not over, the squeeze. Last year, 1.4 million mortgage holders rolled off their mortgages of about 1 or 2% onto something closer to 6 or 7%. In the next 2 years, 3 million people will have to remortgage. And along with people paying sky-high rents, there's still a lot of pain baked into the system. Now, we caught up with one family across 3 generations to ask them what the cost of living crisis meant to them.
Money can't buy you happiness, but I feel it buys you time and it gives you choices. There's not much room for that if you're constantly thinking, hang on, have I got enough money?
Summer has come, the election is behind us, and interest rates are finally coming down. But behind these calm waters, worries about the cost of living crisis still hang in the air. Behind one family's door, 3 generations tell of their struggle and how much each of their lives has changed.
But even train fares.
Amber's a single mum. The rate cut's too late for her. She's already had to leave the family home of 22 years.
It was really stressful because I really wanted to stay in that house.
Did you feel like you had a choice?
We'd have been gone into debt each month. And that's not a good place to be, and it's not a healthy place to be.
Was it difficult to say goodbye to that home?
It was weird. It was really weird. I was saying goodbye to so many memories.
Did you worry about the impact on your kids?
Massively. That was my biggest worry. I worried that they might feel responsible for the family finance. And I had to sit them down and kind of talk to them about what we could afford and what we couldn't afford. I explained to Eliza that I couldn't really afford pocket money anymore, so she had to get herself a job.
Tough if you're just a teenager.
Obviously, she was so stressed with money. I just thought, I need to get out there. I need to do something about it.
Do you worry about your mum?
I do worry about her because she's really important to me and she does so much for us. I think I want to make up for everything she's done for us over the years. Now that I'm old enough and I've got a job, I can pay for things for her. I need to look after my family and myself. It's overwhelming. I don't know how to handle it sometimes.
I definitely worry about my mum the most because I think it's affected her mentally quite a lot. Just the stress of, you know, working all the time. And of course, you know, I worry about my sister here because I think joining the workforce was quite hard for her. I think she can be quite an anxious person sometimes, but I think she's adapted really well, and I'm really proud of how we've all coped with it.
Jude has problems of his own. He worked in his gap year and throughout university, but the money just wouldn't stretch.
I did my weekly shop and I checked my money and I thought, well, I've only got about £15 left to last me until I leave. And I was like, well, I'm just going to have to stay in and not socialise. And it definitely was a realisation that, you know, things are very different than what they used to be.
The future's just kind of scary.
240 miles south, the door opens to another set of problems.
390, I think.
Amber's parents had planned a comfortable retirement, but while their mortgage is paid off, the bills keep coming.
When I retired, I thought, well, my pension, which I suppose is about £1,200 a month, something like that, £1,100 a month, that with a bit of luck, that and any interest I made off my pension pot savings would be enough. But unfortunately, it wasn't.
It means a change for Annie too.
Just up the road here, there's the Sally Army, and on a Thursday morning, they have a huge sale. Line up, long queue, friends, get your clothes, nice clothes, some of them, pots, pans, books, lots of lovely books, cup of tea. It sounds really sad, doesn't it? But actually, I live off them.
Their squeeze makes it difficult to do anything for the grandkids. A bitter pill when they worry the generations after them have an even tougher time.
They work hard, the kids, you know, and I hate to see them, you know, just not getting anything from it. It's like a treadmill for them, isn't it, really?
It's a lack of hope, isn't it? You have to have hope. Even if it's a struggle, you've got to have a hope.
It's a hope they worry is being closed off. A fear shared by their brood in Yorkshire.
What I'd like is for my children one day to be able to get on the property ladder.
Do you think that's realistic?
I just don't think it's realistic.
I think having your own space to yourself is something that, you know, young people really dream of. But I think that's a dream that's becoming increasingly out of reach for them.
The reality is they're going to probably stay at home for longer, and that's sad for them. You know, I'm happy. I would like them to stay at home for longer.
Made that very clear.
She's got lovely eyes.
Interest rates may have been cut today, but they're still at a 16-year high. The rate of inflation may have come down, but prices are still at eye-watering levels. Up and down the country, families like the Sievers want to close the door on the last 5 years of financial instability.